Bannerlord can be a brutally hard game. Often you're outnumbered and massive armies march against you. Well, in this new series, we're going to work together, friends. What I want you to do is send me your difficult situations that you're either currently encountering in Bannerlord in your campaign, or something that you've dealt with in the past where you're just unable to solve it. I will do my very best to handle these difficult situations. I will share the results on YouTube, provided they have some kind of educational value for people. We will take on these difficult challenges, do some battlefield analysis, and hopefully help you turn around a very, very difficult battle. So join me on this adventure. Please send me your difficult situations. Have a little patience. I don't know how many there are going to be, but I'm willing to take these challenges on for you fellas as we handle your disasters of war. Friends, this new series, Disasters of War, is basically a combo effort. We are going to work together, and what I mean by that is you are going to provide difficult save games or situations that you want me to analyze and try to solve for you, whether it's part of a campaign or something like that, and I'm going to show you how to do that, right? I have my Windows drive here. It shows my different various drives, and most people should have this little sidebar right here where you have documents and videos and downloads and stuff like that. All you do is you go to this little folder that says documents, and this should be the same for most people, although obviously it depends on what Windows version you're using. For me, I just click this button, documents. It brings it right in here, the Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord folder, and then you go to game saves. Right now you're going to have to search by date modified. Probably you can actually see these are really old save files. It's amazing to think that I was starting to play and I was probably getting rocked by looters in early January of 2022. But all you do then is take this save file and attach it to an email, or however you send an email, and send it to the email link that's in the video description. That's it. I'll then review it and see if it's worthy of an episode, and hopefully your name and your solution will be one of our episodes. All right, friends, that's all there is to it. Hopefully I can see your difficult challenges and we'll take a shot. Thanks again for watching, and now we'll get to today's episode. All right, friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, and today we are going to have three smaller battles in our Disasters of War series, right? Mr. Henri here sent me this email. We'll post his email very briefly here. If you don't want this stuff shared, just ask me not to do that, but I think his email articulates his situation better than I can. To paraphrase, he's trapped, right? He's been captured here, or at least he's been cornered here, and his character is injured, so you can't fight. Now, his character here, besides having an amazing head of hair and a badass beard, is young, right? And I forget sometimes with all the epic battles on the channel that there are some guys just trying to get through the early stages of Bannerlord where it can be very difficult. Now, his opponent has a good mix of archers and shield infantry, so I can see why he's having a problem here. Now, he's got, attaboy Henri, he's got a nice future being champ devastating force here. Mix it with some sturgeons. You're on the right path for sure, bud. But let's try to get you through this battle. Now, you can't fight. It says you are wounded, so the only thing you can do here is use the RTS mod. That's fine. We should still be able to try to figure out some way to get through this battle. Now, you could try to get away, but most of the time you get captured 5 minutes later. Now, he's using the normal player damage as far as troops, but he is using a couple things that help him with movement and recruiting troops. That's fine, man. I mean, you guys playing in the early game of Bannerlord, nobody's looking over your shoulder, or if your big brother or your whoever, a friend of yours is looking over your shoulder, make fun of you, tell them to shut the fuck up. Tell them Bannerlord is hard. Tell them to make a campaign so you can laugh over their shoulder too. This game is hard. It can be very, very fast for a new player. Now, for this first baseline here, as this whole series, we're going to analyze the battlefield here briefly. It's a small battle, but it's important to understand the difficulties here being encountered, and then we'll come up with a plan. Of course, Killbox is the name of the game today. His archers are doing their best. They're spraying the enemy, but almost every foe has a shield, right? There's like 6 recruits, and the rest are holding up a piece of wood. That allows them to close here, and this battle's over, right? As soon as your archers are outnumbered by shields, it's all over, right? They're swinging two-handed weapons against guys with shields. They're going to get a few kills here, but I can see why Mr. Henri here is having a difficult time with this early stage battle. Never mind the fact that you can't fight, right? You're going to have to do purely tactics here. So, killed about a third of the enemy force. Let's go ahead and reload this save game, and let's get Henri through this difficult situation here. All right, man, that loaded quickly here. That's one of the nice things about these small early game save files. They take like 10 or 20 seconds to load. So in we go here. Same exact situation. Of course, we're not going to change anything. I promise you, fellas, we're not trying to pull the wool over your eye and use cheat codes or something like that. We're just going to use tactics, and this should be something that you can replicate. Now, we can't fight. Of course, we're going to have to use the RTS mod, but we're going to use some tactics here. And a lot of guys are surprised or even will argue that you can't use tactics in Bannerlord. In fact, just a few days ago, a friend and I kind of went to war with a guy on one of the Reddit sites, and he was just like, those aren't tactics. The shit you're using is just exploits. Whatever you want to call it, man. We're going to exploit the shit out of the enemy today. Now, we're going to have essentially sacrificial defensive units holding both wings, and notice we have 3 archer divisions. That's essential because we are going to do a modified kill box. The 5th division will be the weakest there at the back, the weakest archers. The 6th is a normal archer division, and the 4th is the strongest, right? Enemy shields on the other side, right? So that 4th division is going to be finding a lot of flesh. Now we're going to have these sacrificial units on both sides and an infantry reserve just in case we need to sort of protect one of these archer divisions. Over there, cavalry, 1 cavalryman holding up a shield wall on the left. We've got 4 infantrymen holding a shield wall, and this looks like just the landscape for us to be able to pull this off. Now, the idea with the kill box, we've covered this plenty, but I want to just illustrate this for Henri. Try to make these guys a little bit brighter here so you can see what's going on. Our cavalry division goes up and holds their shield, and we will kind of play this battle a little bit slower so you can zoom in and see how effective each little tiny step here is in winning this battle. And we're going to win, right? I'm looking at the power bar. We've got that nasty 4th division. Notice the positioning of that infantry, right? Out in front of the archers, maybe 30 or 40 feet closer to the enemy. That is because generally, not always, but generally enemy archers will shoot whatever unit is closest to them. So those guys holding up those giant, extra large pizza tray shields are going to absorb arrows. That's their sole job here. In fact, we may have them throw weapons, but it's probably better if they just hold fire. In other words, those little pitiful throwing axes that the sturgeons throw, they're probably better off not using them. That way they just commit strictly to defense. So the enemy's coming up here. We want them pulled towards the center, and we're going to do a lot of kiting. Now, these guys here are critical, right? These guys might even be the MVP. We'll see what they look like. They may all get killed here, too. And they're going to have to fend off this, right? The enemy does have some heavy cavalry. Here they come. In fact, see, they're throwing their weapons. That's already leaving them vulnerable. Better to tell those guys, hold fire. Hold your shields up, boys. You've already shed enough blood. Protect these guys here, right? This 4th corps of archers, that's going to be the key. Now, I don't know if you caught that, but that cavalryman over there took the full brunt of the enemy cav charge. It's kind of a funny thing to think about, but they have 3 or 4 cavalry charging around him. Look what he's doing here. This one guy with this stupid helmet. Hold that shield up, buddy. Yeah, right, he's doing his job. Now we're kiting back here with the 5th Infantry and the archers. Meanwhile, the 6th is already shooting the enemy on the side, right? You hear enemy forces dying. We're going to continue to move archers back as they approach. Now, these guys lost their protector. That brave cavalryman finally got mowed down. But we've got the enemy infantry in a bad spot. Now, you could commit to the engage command, F1, F4, but I prefer manually moving these guys. Sometimes the engage command gets a little sloppy. Sometimes it gets them too close to the enemy and they're not recoverable. In other words, they get mauled by enemy infantry because you put them in engage instead of manually controlling them. This infantry division here, we may attack with at some point, but right now I'm just waving them in front of the enemy like the proverbial set of stripper panties, right? We want these guys to put all their money into our little underwear here and take them for everything we got. That way we can win this battle, right? Of course, hopefully that analogy makes sense to you fellas. Now, the enemy infantry couldn't be more fucked at this in this stage, right? They have 3 different archer divisions wrapped around them, and they're going to be lucky if they make contact with any of them, right? The only time they may make contact is when we charge for the kill. They're going back and forth. They're holding up their shields, right? This is about the only thing they could do. Now, if they split, what you would do is charge, right? If they all head in different directions, take your strongest infantry and archers and charge those guys. Hold fire and charge. That way they're destroyed, right? Then you could have them open fire again. Here, we're going to simulate that. This infantry will say we got sloppy. We were observing some other units. When they're that close, have your guys charge. At least your guys will take out a couple guys before they get killed, and they're buying time for your archers, right? These archers are over here planking the enemy forces. These guys are actually either out of range or out of sight, right? So what do? Tell them to charge. F1, F4, engage would also work, but when they're that far away, I actually prefer charge. These guys are moving up right now. At this stage, definitely, you could F1, F4 all your units, which is that engage command if you see the lower left there. And this enemy force is fucked. They've got a bunch of guys with 19 arrows in their shield. Meanwhile, we're not really getting hurt by the enemy archers. Why? Because they continue to attack our infantry division. Those guys with the shields right through the forest there are protecting us. This poor lord is getting shot to pieces. And I think this battle's already over. Now, we still have to deal with their archers, so they're moving up. But look at these studs. Didn't I say these guys might be the MVP? Look at that, man. They've got some blood in the ground and 30 arrows in every shield. But that is the strength of the sturgeons, right? Outstanding defense. Here, we're going to use it. Now, here, I botched this a little bit. So what do? You tell your guys to charge. They're weak archers, but look at them. They just cut down a legionnaire. The other guy gets mauled. And that is because the enemy units are wounded. And, of course, we now outnumber them. This lord, we can open fire. She's going to run for the hills. She's either going to cycle charge here or run. It looks like she's just flat out fled. Now, unfortunately, I think that means that force is going to get away. Those troops are not going to be captured. You know, so poor Henri here is going to lose out on his, you get a bunch of ransom for capturing a lord like that. But we got a bunch of upgrades. How come we don't have any upgrades? -1 upgrade. Those highborn youths got 32 kills and no upgrades. So I don't know. Maybe we've got a bug going on there. But victory is still victory, right? And 12 casualties. And we mauled 62 troops and the rest ran for the hills. So despite the fact that we got no upgrades, we'll take it, right? And again, who was the MVP? We whipped the bastard, right? We had this one guy. In fact, here, this guy gets the Sturgeon Medal of Honor. Finally took an arrow right in the forehead. But the rest of the guys, right, they're going to drink a beer tonight and salute you, Henri, as the commander. All right, we'll wrap this up here. We're going to send this fellow the save game back. You plundered some money. We'll take a prisoner or two here. You got way too many prisoners, dude. Maybe that's why you got captured. I have the same problem. Trust me, you want to have about 70% prisoner capacity. And, oh shit, okay, so it was just a bug. It wasn't showing it on the combat screen, but a heap of upgrades for you, Henri. Your mercenary contract just went through the roof. You're on your way to a devastating Bacanian Fian Sturgeon hybrid-led empire. That was fun. We're going to get to at least one more of these today. I'll take a look at some others. I'd love to run down this lord for you. She's moving really slowly. But I'm going to send you this save game back and leave you that choice, Henri. That's also why I didn't upgrade those troops. For all I know, you can't afford to pay for them, right? You only got $4 grand here. Upgrading all of a sudden to a bunch of Fian champs might be more expensive than you can handle. So I will leave you that option. And let's get to the next challenge here. All right, let's load the next one up. We are recording, and this next one, this guy's name is Willem. That's, I think, how you pronounce it. I can't tell if it's, supposed to be Wilhelm. Wilhelm, I think it's, I don't know, the Dutch equivalent maybe of William. So I got a soft spot for this guy. That's what my name is. He's got a sturgeon force here, and he said, should I defend Abcomer Castle? All right, so let's digest some details here. He's got 70 troops. There's a decent defense force in there already, although it's mostly militia, probably scrubs. He's got 109 troops, but a lot of them are banged up. He's got an army kind of after my own heart. This reminds me of my Sturgeon campaign, Huskarl. I think that's a similar to a Jarl. And it's not a bad character spec, right? He's kind of a new character. He needs some better armor here. In fact, it seems like one of those situations where he's doing form over function, right? He's putting on armor that looks nice. I'm going to do this for you, bud. Huskarl Schooled. Schooled is how you pronounce that? I don't know. I'll do my best here, Phyllis. We're going to We're going to try to not offend anybody or brutalize pronunciation. Of course, we have an international audience on the channel. Now, he's got this makeshift sledgehammer. I think I'd recommend you use that, bud. Willem. We'll call him Willem. You got a Jareed, too. You should put your Jareeds on. He asked, bring up the email here in a second, but he said, should I defend Abcomer Castle and take a look at my equipment? So that's what we're going to do here. And we'll look at Abcomer in a second, but just kind of sort through. We're spending 60 seconds with some of these guys basically to do, you know, a character analysis for them. I like what I see. He's got a very new army here. His sturgeon, he looks like a vassal for the sturgeons. He's kind of deep into Battanian territory here. Not quite certain what he's doing over here with the tiny army. You're asking for trouble there, Willem. But I'm not going to judge too much, right? We're going to defend, I think. Oh, shit. All right, what do we got going on here? This is going to be 1,200 attackers. Now, fans of the channel know, and of course people who've defended it know, Abcomer is a very defendable castle. One of the best. A top 5 castle, I think, for defending. There's a variable here, though. Most of the troops are not going to be under our control. So I would say, yes, we will try to defend because the alternative is boring. But I would not say that this is going to be a cakewalk. We'll see what this looks like. Now, just like before, his other companion has some decent troops too, right? Willem, you got the makings of a pretty potent little army. The injuries aren't gonna help. There's a ghetto force inside. We're gonna defend it just because it's the challenge, right? Basically, that's like saying, you know, should we try something difficult? Of course, we're gonna try something difficult. Now, he should heal a little bit here, although I've got another tip when we do the second component of this. The companions, for whatever reason, they heal a lot faster than the main character. I will show you how to take advantage of that little fact. Now, I think this siege is ours to control, right? You want to build catapults, and if you have the skill, fire catapults. He does not have the skill, so I think it's just rock catapults. But while the enemy's preparing, if you're in charge, right, he's in charge of this siege, you want to do that shit, right? You need to build as many catapults as possible because any siege towers or rams would gain in levels. And they've begun the assault here. Any siege towers or rams we want to destroy. Now, another fella using some easier difficulty. Again, not an insult. We're not going to judge here on the channel. We're going to use the hardest, though, for these examples. And this first battle, we'll just watch, right? We'll just see what happens. This is a little bit like some of our instructional episodes for Epic Siege, or just for our castle siege defenses. Just with some added variables here. Normally, you have control over all the troops in those scenarios. Here, he's controlling something like 30% of the troops on the field, which means the AI is going to suicide its archers on the walls. They get shot to pieces on the walls by Battanians. You can hear all the flying, throwing weapons. Now, they're they're hammering the ram. They insta-destroyed the ram, which is definitely going to help. They're now reduced to, what, a siege tower and the ladders, right? Or maybe they don't even have a siege tower. It looks like they just have ladders. Now, the problem with that is that the AI is still going to defend the walls, which means all these little militia and sturgeon forces are getting shot to death, right? They're getting beaten on the walls by Battanian forces, and there's a huge amount of Battanians, of course. We're outnumbered here almost 4-1. And the archers, of course, are getting dropped real fast on the walls here, right? They are just getting laid out. Yeah, guys shot in the face. All of this is predictable stuff. Well, the problem here is that 90% of the defenders are going to be annihilated trying to let the enemy into the city, into the castle. And of course, fans of the channel know that I advocate purposefully letting the enemy onto the walls. Now, the enemy has multiple ways to go here on the walls over on this left side. So it's going to be interesting to see how we can try to defend that. But I still think we have a shot to defend this castle. On the surface, it would be easy. If you had control over all the units, you'd stack up every stairway, put archers everywhere in the courtyard. The courtyard has amazing angles. But because we don't control these units, they're getting pounded. In fact, the Battanians have totally overwhelmed this right side, and the results are going to be predictable. Despite this last-second attempt to shore it up, that's just going to delay the inevitable. You don't have any archer support at all, right? There's no archers at all behind him. and this infantry is going to get their arms twisted until they submit. If you had archers here, you could be shooting these guys in the back. You'd have to contend with javelins. You don't want to let them. You don't want to let them to this stage in the first place. And we're going to make these two guys through the motto or the moral of this story. Don't defend the walls against Battania. Really, you shouldn't defend the walls against anybody unless you have the right setup. And this is not it, right? Sturgia has exceptionally weak archers. The Battanians have the best. That's the worst time possible to defend the walls. And a thorough ass whipping here as the Battanians sweep through the castle, taking whatever they want and setting fire to the rest. You and your wife here get captured. And the enemy lives happily ever after. In fact, the ominous music plays on our random soundtrack as you are captured. All right, we're going to reload this save game here, give you guys some tactics that work, and we will see if we can't overcome this difficult challenge for Willem. All right, we get loaded back up here. This will just take a second, and I'm going to do this at the beginning. I normally wait to the end to give you guys a disclaimer. This is our second attempt at doing it, in other words, of being in charge of tactics, and I will explain. But I like to be upfront with you fellas and not show you, the 37th best siege and try to impress somebody like, look how awesome we are. That's not the purpose of this series anyways. The purpose of this series is to be illustrative of what you can do with Bannerlord, right? Now, I'm going to show you something else here that I think is really not well known in Bannerlord. Little tips and tricks are something I like to include in almost every episode. We're going to share our injured troops here, and you might say, why, right? Koleg the fish doesn't have any medicine skill. He's not going to do any better than the main character at healing. Yes, he is, because for whatever reason, the game mechanics, intentional or not, sorry about this, we overfilled his roster. We're going to give him all of our best injured troops. They heal faster. They heal your troops faster. Your companion armies heal those troops faster, and it'll be the same net result in this siege, only we'll have more of them. So a little tip there while we throw on some better gear here. That's something you can do, especially if you're in a situation like this, where every healthy troop is going to matter. Now, while we're doing the siege setup here, I want you to watch the healing of both of these units, right? We'll be sort of checking their numbers. But as this siege sets up, so he's got 29 injured and 27 injured, right? You would think that they would heal at the same rate, 29 and 27. Watch this shit. Well, here, let's watch the injured first, and then I'll explain why. Look, he's already down to 8 injured, right? So Koleg's party is healing way faster than the main characters. In fact, he's completely healthy, and the main character is still working on his injured guy. So evidently your companions are really good with the bandages and shit like that. But let me explain this. I keep interrupting myself. The first time we shot it, and I may or may not include some brief highlights of it, our troops, the enemy, due to the random nature of it, they built a siege tower. It's just a random variability. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And our troops were able to destroy the siege tower and the ram, which left the enemy only 1 siege ladder. So I didn't want to show it to you fellas because not only are the variables different, but it would have been way too easy. All right, that said, let's show you what to do here, what I would think you want to do in this situation. Remember, most of the troops are not ours to control. So the very first thing is you tell everybody 0, right? 0, F1, or excuse me, F2, F1, which is line formation, and then follow me. You want all of your guys off the walls. That first 20 seconds, you can lose half your force or a third of your force because your archers are trying to shoot from the walls. Get them off the walls. Let the enemy, well, they are practically the enemy, let the allies go up on the walls there and get smoked. Save your troops. We're going to need them. Now I'm fucking fat fingering shit here. It's hard for me to do this. Let me fucking focus here for a second. I'm getting off my horse. It's hard to narrate and play these at the same time, especially when, you feel a little bit of a time stretch. We got to kind of hurry here because I need to get to a siege weapon to help destroy that ram. If we can't destroy the ram, we're probably fucked too. The first battle, if you remember, our allies just mangled the ram, right? Did it all on their own. So we're going to try to help them here. And I will explain what we're doing here with archers in a second. But let me get these troops set up since we're in a little bit of a hurry. I could switch to the... I don't want to really do that. I was going to say I could switch to the RTS overhead view, but we're going to fight this battle kind of on foot. It'll be half entertainment, half educational value. Now, of course, our archers are being smoked and shot up here. They have no chance. And the ram is not destroyed. I think it was already destroyed by this stage of the first siege, so we're going to try to help here. I'm going to get off. This is mine. but we're going to try to pound it a few times. One of the big keys to destroying a ram is having fire catapults. If you can get a hold of a fire catapult, you must be accurate with your shot, right? Because it doesn't spray damage like these catapults, like a regular catapult. In fact, I'm missing here, and my companion, my helper here, got smoked. The Botanians are just so nasty to try to be on the wall against. Every fucking, even their uncle and their brother and their mom. I mean, even Botanian moms have throwing weapons. Evidently, no one's gonna load this for me here, so we'll do it all. Whatever you do, don't help there. Yeah, I better not go there. All right, let's load this shit. I'm all kinds of fucked up here. I'm picking up shit. Wow, and this is kind of good, right? It shows you some of the bad shit that can happen. At least we totally redeem ourselves. Just when I think you can't do anything stupider, you do that shit, and we killed a lot of their troops. There's carcasses falling down. It looks pretty grim here, and we'll see. Maybe we'll need a third version of this. I'm not giving up yet, though. Let's see what the ram looks like here. And you can actually just throw these, right? This guy's got decent throwing skill, so we will just chuck these out here. Look at that shit. The ram's almost destroyed. In fact, I'll give you guys a little hint here. You don't want to destroy this ram. A lot of guys just, oh, let's kill the ram as quick as possible. Now I'm going to help you guys some more. There's fire catapults over there, right? Right over here to the left. There's a fire catapult. We're going to kill some of these enemy troops, right? So they're presented in defeat formation right beneath us here, right? Look at that defeat formation. Kill as many. They got a sign. It's in Botanian, but I can translate for you. It's a bunch of Celtic letters that says, we would like to be killed en masse, right? Get a few shots in, destroy the ram before it destroys the wall, and let's give them a little parting shot here, these fucks. All right, kaboom. Let's add to their misery here, right? Now we can run back and forth. I gotta set up our units here because our units, obviously, I didn't micro them, but I want to get one more savage. Uh-oh, don't freeze on me, baby. Still recording. I want to get one more savage explosion in there. Very satisfying to kill 20 guys. We've got all these other rocks we can throw too. We got basically all kinds of things we can do. Now let's put the archers on the other side here. And why are we doing that, right? Because I hope it's not going to be coming out juddering this whole battle. Sometimes you get battles like this where the AI is really having a hard time with pathfinding and your game will freeze on you. I haven't experienced that in this city so much, but we'll see. What you want to do here is you want to have archers where the enemy has their back turned. Right? I know it's a relatively simple concept once you do it a few times, but presuming there are some newer players watching these, presuming that Willem is a relatively new player. He didn't say, I'm not experienced or anything like that. He just said, take a look at my equipment, and should I get inside the castle? Now, this is a problem. These Botanians are trying to get to the door and open the door, right? The ram is broken, and so the AI is programmed to try to send guys to open the door manually, right? So we want some guys blocking them, right? We're basically going to put units to intercept them. Think of it like a football match, whether you're talking NFL football or European football, a similar concept, right? We're going to put some defenders here at midfield. Oh shit, the fucking door is open. So I don't think the ram destroyed the front door, but they might beat on it and come through. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Now, I'm still scrambling because I want to get our units aligned here, and I will explain what I'm doing in a second. It's going to be interesting, too, to see what like a middle to low tier character can do with this sledgehammer. I think they're amazing. If you can get a hold of a sledgehammer early game, it's probably your best weapon. You're going to truck guys, you're going to have a lot of fun, but you're also going to fuck people up. And those are the ingredients for fun, right? When you're wrecking shop, it's way more fun than having the guy parry or you swing so slow you get killed. All right, 318 on that side. I'm kind of going through my units here. That front gate makes me very nervous. I want to have an infantry division nearby. You can see the front gate is barely standing up there, right? If the AI was smarter, they would go pound on it and then flood the gate. If they do that, and they might, we will deal with it. Now, this is what I meant, right? I got these archers tucked in here. You see they're shooting behind the enemy. Now, those AI forces in the wall, I can't control them, right? The AI is in charge of those, and the AI thinks that's the best thing to do. It's the worst thing to do here. I actually want them pulling back to this stairway like our guys. But we will take advantage of the fact that the AI is there. I might slow-mo and look at that guy. He was like a wood runner or something with a huge javelin sticking out of his jugular. That might be worth a little slow-mo glance. I'm too busy right now to look at it, but I'm not too busy to laugh at it because that was great looking. He was standing there all stoic with a huge pointed stick hanging out of his jugular. All right, we're going to participate here, right? The enemy, again, is trying to get to that front door. They're trying to open it. They're trying to rally troops, attack, right? Our archers and infantry are here throwing javelins at them. These guys here can charge, right? This is a situation where the enemy breaks into your courtyard, send these killers with their axes into battle. Now, the gate, someone closed the gate. Maybe some of our troops did. So I'm feeling better there. That intercept is working. And this is actually turning into a much more complicated siege than I intended. Maybe I'll rue the fact that we just deleted the first episode. I didn't even run the first siege to extension because it would have been unbelievably easy and boring. Just to reiterate that, if you can get to the point where the enemy only has one, especially if it's one set of ladders, right? Like the two ladders, you win, right? Just set up your archers and I don't know. Go take a shower or something like that. I was going to say something lewd. We will spare you. Now, the AI is still doing strange stuff here. Ours and the enemy. The enemy is kind of rushing troops down here. I don't know how our archers didn't shoot that guy. I did remove the square from up here, though, because they weren't really coming this direction. Now, our wife is standing duty over here. I think that's this, you know what I mean, that guy's wife. We're going to hold the wall here. I'm not trying to take over your wife here, guy. You know, but we're momentarily, in possession of your family. Trust me, we will be gentle with your wife. This isn't going to be like that movie Indecent Proposal. You'd have to be pretty old to remember that, but none of that shit, right? We won't desecrate your shit. And I think it's locked up now. The enemy's starting to trickle in. We've basically got pieces in place that prevent the enemy from success, right? I can fatten up this division behind me here. I'm having a hard time remembering where I put what division. If you get in a moment like this and it's a critical siege, just go slow, right? Just pause and hold the button. That way you can sort of look at the units. Nobody's watching. Nobody cares, right? Just take that extra second. Now, you want these guys exposed to your archers, right? So kind of move them back a little bit in a square or a shield wall. That way your archers just point blank are firing on the enemy. Let's check the other side here. The power bar still looks very bad. I'm probably not for this series going to remove the power bar like we're doing for some of our other more dramatic series. I want you guys to see that we're in trouble still here. So we're gonna play kind of around the margins of this. I could probably go retire into the keep and it would be fine, but they're still putting up a good fight, right? And the enemy has a lot of troops left, so it is trying to stall out on us. But thus far, it has not. We haven't had a full freeze. Now you see the effect of these archers here. The AI might be throwing an occasional javelin, but they're being shot by 30 archers permanently as they come up the stairs. This one's not as defendable because they can go multiple ways. They got some cover there. The worst thing that can happen for you as a defender is for the AI to start using cover where your archers can't shoot them, right? The whole purpose tactic of this strategy is to make sure that their archers are visible here. Now, I'm going to wield this. We're going to get this guy some skill points here. We're not going to play their whole campaign for him, but we're going to smash some people with this guy's character. In fact, this guy coming right at me. Have a rock, you bitch. Just drops him to the ground. The sound effects. I mean, you gotta love it. Just trucking guys all over the place. And I want to reiterate, this guy does not have like 250 two-handed. I want to say he's like in the 150s. He is not a powerhouse. What was he, level 14, 15, something like that? But you give him a good, fast, two-handed. Of course, I know the timing and distance very well. I'm experienced. You guys should be able to replicate this, right? A little bit of practice. You too can just stand on the walls like a badass and just mangle your foes. Now, plenty of the guys that are visiting the channel are probably already X'd out or they're yawning. They know the recipe for siege defense, and this is it, right? This city, this castle is ours. The enemy's being pulverized. It's been virtually solid death spam there for, I want to say, 10 minutes, 8 minutes, right? As the enemy's collection of corpses and blood everywhere starts to pile up. It's such a beautifully visceral game. I mean, this guy's shot in the face. Even though it keeps stalling out, this has still been a joy. And I'm sure there's some value here, right? The guys who, well, especially for Willem, trying to defend this castle, I'm sure he had a hell of a time. Again, like some of the previous submissions, his difficulty level was set really low But first, we're not judging anyways, but if you're struggling with the situation, why the fuck, who cares if you lower the difficulty, right? Again, are you having fun, right? That's all that fucking matters. This is not the Bannerlord Championship, right? If it was the Bannerlord Championship, there would be rules or something, systems in place so you couldn't do that, right? Just like online, you can't just lower the damage. But for single player, if you're having fun and you run into a difficult challenge, I don't know why people would be concerned about things like the player damage, right? Have fun. Now, what's amazing is you get that little escape hatch, right? The AI will not jump off those walls. They can fall off, but they won't jump off. You should be able to easily navigate, some combat with this two-hand. And just like before, this guy didn't ask for it, but I'm going to send you this save game back here, Willem. Is that German? Maybe you guys can chime in the comments. I presume Willem is like, Scandinavian or German or something like that. I know there's multiple Wilhelms because I studied that portion of history extensively. The crazy fucking Kaiser, the Wilhelm II, that basically caused World War I. Right? You got these guys out there. And I'm not saying you are, crazy maniac Willem, but Wilhelm, and I think that's the equivalent of William in English. Very, very common name, especially 200 years ago. It's not as common today, but it's been one of the most... I don't know why I'm fucking talking about that shit. We're doing siege defense here. Now, it looked like someone was pounding on the door. Maybe they are still trying to pound on the door, but the enemy's in a bad spot now. In fact, the enemy just left, right? Their forces are fleeing. And look at them run, right? We get to celebrate here. Willem, if you want this save game, right, you're going to get a bunch of skill perks. We'll look at that in a second. But pretty handily smash this Battanian force. Let's look at the kill ratio here. 19 kills, 400. That's actually, I'm surprised it's not better. That's a 20-to-1 kill ratio and a huge list of perks. Huge list, right? You're getting all kinds of skills. I'm not, doing these episodes to power level your characters. But it's a little side effect of that. You're getting basically all kinds of perks in different categories. Your siege went through the roof. Your athleticism went up. Your tactics went up. Of course, your tactics are going up just sitting on your couch watching this channel, right, Phyllis? And 960. Oh, so the other army that we gave all those troops to had a 60-to-1 kill ratio. So that'll work. That'll do just fine. Now let's make sure we take some prisoners for them. In fact, we'll custom hand pick some prisoners here since you look to be forming kind of one of the armies that I would form, right? A bunch of skirmisher heavy, Fianchamp heavy, archer heavy, and a good couple squares. You are on your way there, Willem. So just like earlier with Henri, hopefully these two guys, like I said before, I've used the analogy. I don't want to just give you guys fish so that you eat food for a day. I want to give you guys the ability to catch your own fish so that you can go out there and Bannerlord. I can't play your whole campaign for you, but I can give you guys the tools necessary to dominate your game and have a lot of fun. So at this stage, I'll say, of course, you want to subscribe. Submit your entries too, right? Send them to my email. If I like them, we'll use them for one of these episodes. Please hit that like button on the way out. And Willem, Henri, all the rest of you, I appreciate you, fellas. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you, friends, next time.